Hi chaps, MOP here from Beard, Biceps and Batchat. It's been a couple of days since my last video, and the reason for that is I wanted to have a little play around with the new Czech Tank line. I'm up to I think tier 5 at the moment. This is a little bit of a tier 4 gameplay. It's a good game, so keep an eye on it. But what I wanted to talk about today was the new Czech line that we've just had released. I'm not going to do a overall review of the line because there'll be other people who can do it far more justice than I could, and who potentially can go a bit more in depth. There's a couple of tanks in particular that I wanted to talk about in the line that I think are going to be fairly interesting and a lot of fun to play. So in general, the main thing that I've noticed about the line is you've got good maneuverability, good firepower. There's 3 of the tanks in the line have some very tasty auto loaders, and that's the T25, T50, the TVP 50/51. But the line is, although very good offensively, is not very good defensively. So for that firepower, you're giving up a lot in terms of durability. Generally, the armour is naff, so you're a little bit of a glass cannon. You can put out a lot of damage, a lot of burst damage quickly, but if you get hit back, you're going to be screwed. The modules on these tanks generally don't have a huge amount of hit points, so it's a case of you have to play this line a little bit differently. Very much a thinking man's line. So a lot of map awareness, situational awareness is going to be pivotal to be successful with the line. You don't want to be in positions where you're trading, you're left vulnerable. You essentially want to get lots of nice flanking shots without taking any damage back if you can. So the first tank in the line that I'm really looking forward to playing is the T25. It's also, I think, the first auto loader in the line. Now this tank has got very good speed, good acceleration. The gun has got quite good penetration as well. But the main thing that sort of makes this tank quite nice is the fast magazine cycle and reload. So you can get your damage in, pull back, reload, come back out and unleash your burst damage again. The burst damage itself isn't particularly crazy. It's about 330 for emptying your clip. You got 3 shots in your clip, it's about an 8-second reload. So it's not too bad, 8 seconds before you pop out and then load it all again. The other sort of unique thing I suppose about this tank is the gun depression. Obviously 20 degrees up and 10 degrees down. So you can do quite a lot in terms of ridgeline play. And it should be quite useful with its maneuverability. You pretty much want to play this as a flanker. You just want to get side shots into the side silhouette of tanks and then disappear before they decide you're a threat and start putting shots back into you. So if you've noticed, the alpha damage on the T25 isn't particularly amazing. It's about 110 damage per shell, so you're not going to sort of light the world on fire. And the other problem is, because you're only putting out 330 damage when you empty your clip, generally you're not destroying a tank, so you really can't hang around. Once you've unleashed your clip, you gotta go, because they are literally just going to tear you to pieces if they stay to have a little fight with you. And the tank doesn't particularly have very high HP either, so it's flank, unload your clip, pull back, wait till the enemy's distracted by something else, and then get involved again. The other tank, this one isn't an auto loader, but I like my Russian medium tank, so this was a wet dream is the best way to describe this. And that is the T34-100. So there is nothing nicer to me than a T34. Now I got very excited when I got the T34-88. So to get the T34-100, I'm very excited to have a go with this tank. Now the main thing is, this is not a manoeuvrable tank. I mean, you know, it's not bad. It is a T34. The armor's not great. The best thing about this is the gun. It's got 175 pen, 200 damage. It's pumping out 7, maybe a little bit more shots a minute. It is nasty. The main way you want to play this is as a support tank. Imagine a slightly buffed up tiger, literally. You want to make sure your second line, front assault, don't play it as a flanker. You want to go where the hot spots are, hide behind the biggest heavy that you can find, use him as your meat shield, and just take advantage of that gun and just keep pumping out the damage as much as you can. But again, for that gun, you are giving up a lot in terms of maneuverability. As I said before, it's just not quick getting around, so you can't rely on that. You need to get in areas where you have large areas of effectiveness, so you can support tanks left flank, right flank and centre. You just have to do everything you can to make use of that gun. The other tank I'm really quite looking forward to as well is the Tier 9, the Skoda T50. The armour, again, not great. It's a tall tank. It's got fairly low module health as well, which is a sort of common trait down the Czech line. But for all that, it's got an absolutely ridiculous autoloader. Now, the clip damage itself isn't particularly crazy. It's got 320 damage per shell, but the damage per minute on this thing is about 4,750, which is absolutely insane on a tier 9. The clip reload is spectacular as well, but also the intra-clip reload between shells. So what I mean by that is, once you load a full clip, the reload between first shell to the second to the third to the fourth is very, very quick. So again, you want to play this as a flanker or as a sort of peek-a-boom. That's probably a bit more of a dangerous way to play it, but one of the most, I suppose the best bit about this tank is the soft stats. So the aim time on this tank is crazy. So in between taking your shots from the shells and the clip, the aim time is so good you'll be fully aimed in again by the time you're taking your second shot. Sometimes with tanks you have to wait a second or two for the aiming reticle to zoom back in on where you're aiming. So it can be a little bit problematic, especially as the pen isn't spectacular. So when you're aiming for weak spots, this is ideal just to unload all that damage as quickly as possible in a very, very precise location. And the last tank that I'm really quite keen to get my hands on is the Tier 10, and that is the TVP T50/51. The best comparison to this of the tanks we currently have is probably the Batchat. So this is a very fast and very mobile tank. The comparison realistically comes from the autoloader gun on it. So the TVP burst damage firing its full clip is 1280. So I think the Batchat is 1800, so it can do less damage in a burst, but the TVP only takes 4.5 seconds to unload its full clip, whereas the Batchat takes 14 seconds. So you're exposed in the TVP for a lot smaller amount of time than you would be in a Batchat, which is useful because your health isn't great, your armor ain't great, and your module HP isn't particularly great. So being able to unload 1280 damage in one go is pretty good. If you come up against one and you put one shell in, if that TVP is sticking around, he is unloading that full damage into you, and there is pretty much nothing you can do about it. One of the things I noticed about it is the pen on the gun as well. It's 248. That's quite low pen for tier 10. So you either want to be loading premium rounds, or you're going to have to be aiming for weak spots as much as possible, playing it as a flanker or more as a more opportunistic killer. The main thing I was quite intrigued by is the view range on it. So it's 410 base, so you should be able to get to 445, which is max view range, hopefully I think without putting on optics or binos, which is quite good if you want to use it for something, well, that extra slot for something else. So the way you probably want to play the TVP is initially as a active or passive scout, pulling back, just making sure you stay alive to the end game, where tanks are a lot weaker and you burst damage, rather than just taking half the health off a tank or 3/4 is finishing off tanks. So you have to think a little bit more. After you've unloaded your clip, you need to have an exit plan, or else you're going to start taking damage. At that point you're going to start becoming less effective. Let me know what you guys are looking forward to in the Czech line, what you anticipate the playstyle will be like. If you've got any comments, please share them below. If you're enjoying the content, please like and subscribe to the channel. I hope you enjoyed the video, chaps, and I'll catch you next.